Hi, I'm Kai with the Ascension Parish Library, and today I'm going to teach you how to make your very own zebra painting. We call these zebra paintings because no two zebra stripes are alike, and no two of these paintings are going to have the same design. So, when you pick up your packet from any of our 4 locations, you'll receive a canvas, 2 bottles of paint, which are black and white, a paintbrush, masking tape, and also a paper plate. All you need to provide from home is a cup of water and some paper towels to clean your brushes. Alright, so once you have all of your items gathered, we can go ahead and get started. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is paint the entire background of our canvas black. So we're going to take our black paint on our plate. Hopefully this will be enough, but if not, it's okay. We can always get some more. And we're going to take our brush and dip it in and start painting. And you want to make sure it's not too thick because it'll take longer to dry and it might be clumpy. But just spread it out until you get a nice even layer. And I'm just going around the sides to make sure that there's no white showing on the front. And you don't have to do the entire sides on each side, just enough that, like I said, there's no white showing. Alrighty, so now that the entire background is painted black, we're gonna let this dry, and it has to dry completely. That's super important for the next step. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna speed it up with the blow dryer because just for time's sake. But yeah, I'll be back when it's dry. Alright, so now that the entire background is completely dry, I can see a few places where there's some white showing through from the canvas. So I'm just gonna do a second layer, and yeah, I'll be back when that's completely dry. Alrighty, so we finished painting our second coat of the background color, and now it's completely dried. So we're gonna move on to the next step, which is taping our painting, which I know sounds a little crazy, but we're going to take strips of tape and position it all over our painting and make different shapes, geometric shapes, diagonal lines, triangles, really anything you want to do. And keep in mind when you're deciding where you want to put your tape on your painting that the spots underneath the tape are the only things that are going to be black on our painting. Everything else is going to be either white or gray. So keep that in mind. Wherever you want the black on your painting to be, that's where you put your tape. Ooh. Also, I like to hold the tape up to my actual canvas so I can make sure that my strips of tape are long enough for what I want to do. Because we want to make sure that the black is continuous in the lines. Also make sure you press down hard enough so the paint doesn't seep through the tape when we do the next step. And you can also make your sections as big or as small as you want them to be. I kind of want a lot. I think it'll be fun. This one keeps coming unstuck. Stay up there. All right, I'm pretty happy with the positioning of my tape and my little design. So now we're going to move on to the next step, which is going to be making our shades to actually paint inside of the little areas. So we're going to be back doing that. All right, so now we're actually going to mix our colors, and I'm going to make 2 different shades of gray, and I'm also going to use white, but we don't have to mix the white because we already have it in our paint. So I'm going to start off with a white base. About that much, and I'll just make both little dots, and then I'm going to gradually add black to it, and I'm going to do it in terms of drops of the black. So that was about 1.5. It kind of all came out at the same time, and I'm going to do 4 in that one, and we can adjust these as needed to get the color we actually want, and make sure it's mixed really well because we don't want there to be variation in the shade. We want it to be one nice color. See some of that black's coming through. We're just gonna keep mixing it out. Perfect. All right. And now I'm going to clean my brush and make sure I dry it really well before I start mixing the second color. And it's okay if a little bit of the color is still left on the brush since we mixed the lighter color first. But don't do it the other way around because then it'll be a lot darker than you intended it. And if the colors start to look a little, the shades start looking a little too similar, because that's a little close, you can add more of either color to one of them. So I'm gonna probably end up adding a little bit more black to this one, just to make it a little darker. So we have more contrast, and that might have been too much, but we'll see. Actually, I kind of want a little bit more black. Oh. So you just have to play with it until you get to a shade that you like. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Alright, and once you're happy with the colors, then we can move on to the next step and actually paint on our canvas. Alright, so we have finished mixing our shades and now we're back at our canvas. So what you need to do now is think about where you want your colors to go. You might not want to put two of the same shade right next to each other, or you might want to. It really depends on your preference. And so I'm going to go ahead and start deciding where I want to put my shades and just paint. Also, when you're switching your shades, make sure after you rinse your brush that you really dry your brush really well, because we don't want this tape to get wet and then it seeps through and then your black lines aren't as crisp as they could be. And we're gonna do 2 layers of paint for each of our little shapes. So make sure they're completely dry in between each coat. And with this step, it's really important to do 2 separate coats because the background is so dark and these colors are lighter, so we just want to make sure that they actually have the chance to pop. And of course it's okay to get paint on the actual tape itself because we're going to pull the tape off and no one's going to see it. Now I'm switching to another color. I'm using white this time next. And it's very important to make sure that you don't mix your white with any other color on your plate. And just make sure you're careful when you're dipping your brush because it will show up if there's even a tiny bit of gray or black paint in there. See, like on the tape, I don't want to accidentally get my brush on that because then it'll get all over my little section. Now I'm moving on to my other shade of gray. You might have to go in and push down your tape a little bit in some spots. Sometimes it wants to come up. Alright, so now that we've covered all of our little spaces, we're going to let this first layer dry and then do it all again. So I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. I've put on the second layer of paint. It's completely dry. And now we're going to move on to our final step, which is taking the tape off and revealing our design. So let's get started. I'm very excited to see what it actually looks like. And you have to be careful when you pull up the tape though, because since you've probably overlapped some pieces, you can't just like rip it all off. You got to kind of maneuver it a little bit. And let's see what we've got underneath. See, some of it gets caught on itself a little bit, but that's okay. And you can always pull them apart too if that makes it easier. Making a giant ball of tape because it's not. Well, this one will come off. That was so satisfying, and now I'm stuck to it. But ta-da! It's done. I love it. I think it's super fun. I'm so excited about it, and I'm sure yours looks amazing too. And if you have any spots that have, you know, a little bit of paint that spilled over, you can just go ahead and trace over it, well, paint over it with your black paint. But yeah, this is the final look. Ah, I'm so excited. All right, thank you guys so much for joining us. I had a lot of fun with you guys. And if you're so inclined, feel free to share your creations with us on social media. We'd love to see it. And yeah, I hope you had fun, and we look forward to seeing you very soon. Bye.